Welcome to Jobbed Out, the wrestling editorial that reminds you that you might not want to hold your breath if you're still waiting for that Nia Jax OnlyFans account. Times have changed compared to when we were kids, alright? When you were young, you either saw wrestlers on TV, at live events, or very, very rarely you might catch one in the wild, stammer over how big a fan you are, possibly get a photo. Nowadays, though, wrestlers, and all celebrities really, are much more accessible. It started with Twitter, of course. They began to talk to users, form bonds with people not within the company, use it to promote their own independent merchandise. And in the last few years, many pro wrestlers began to observe how content creators got their fame through YouTube and Twitch. They realized they already had a built-in audience who will support them before they're even set up, and they made a go of it. Now, the list of performers with social media-based sidelines is pretty huge in 2020. From Alexa Bliss to Roman Reigns on CAMEO, Adam Cole to Zelina Vega on Twitch, Asuka to Xavier Woods on YouTube. But it appears it might not be that way for very much longer. Words come out that on September 4th, Vince McMahon made a new decree, stating that all wrestlers are to cease activities on third-party sites. That is, sites that aren't owned by the WWE and not in working partnerships with them. The consequences could include fines, suspensions, even termination at the WWE's discretion. That last little bit there, that's the fun part, because that means Dakota Kai could be fined or suspended for her charity streams, but Randy Orton can keep making appearances on Twitch without consequence.
Guess what? Bam! Oh.
Brilliant, right? So where did this stem from? I've got a sneaking suspicion it started here. This is AJ Styles' Twitch stream. AJ's stream has probably already been a decent source of frustration for the brass, as he's broken kayfabe a few times, and even let out his frustrations over Paul Heyman and the Good Brothers live. He told his viewers, with thousands of people watching live, that earlier in the year he tested positive for COVID-19.
Also tested positive a couple weeks ago. Probably almost a month, I think, ago. Hopefully The Rock and his family, hopefully everybody's safe and everybody's taken care of. Nobody has, too bad of symptoms,
Now remember, WWE's brass put a lot of effort to clamp down hard on employees coming out with positive COVID readings. Now you might have missed it, but I used a word there that WWE will dispute to the ends of the earth. A word they feel is as dirty as belt or hospital. I said employees. That's where this starts getting slimy. The WWE reminded their talent that they own all the talent's characters' names and personas. But this time they went a bit farther, trying to say they own the performers' real names too, and whether they have a right to moonlight by using their WWE success to make money on sites like CAMEO and Twitch. Hey, WWE, since you care so much about their personal lives now, when are you going to start punishing the performers over DUIs? Yeah, I didn't think so. So there are a lot of differences between an employee and an independent contractor. So many, in fact, that I really should do another video about it. But for the sake of this one, the biggest thing that needs to be remembered is that the WWE wants to control where their performers are and what they do on their spare time. That includes digital and streaming appearances. Personally, I think it's garbage, but it is generally expected when it comes to employees. But then of course the WWE wants to refuse to pay them employees benefits like medical, while saying that their employers are independent contractors, even though their contracts state that they can't work independently elsewhere and that their craft's exclusive to the company, like an employee. Now I'm sure the endgame of this directive isn't to pull its performers behind the curtain again, but rather to have more control. Just like they did with Zack Ryder. They made him move his successful third-party independently owned YouTube series onto their banner so that they could control what he could say, how he could say it, until he could pull the plug. I think the WWE is upset that they just can't make a revenue claim on CAMEO money. Not unlike a company I used to work with who would get upset when their independent contractor strippers would take a booking for a music video or something that wasn't related to stripping. The WWE either wants control or income. Kind of like an agent, even though the WWE's not an agency. And I'm interested to see which wrestlers stand up and rattle the cage, especially because of that note. That note that it's going to be under the WWE's discretion. They could tell a new hire that they have to abandon their Snapchat and TikTok account while saying, alright, Truth, you can keep yours, no problem. And the big enough stars that could demand the rules change might just stay quiet because they're exempt. It's really shitty business practice and it just serves to make their place of work even more miserable. Side note. I've been there. I once lost a job because I refused to abandon my Facebook page. No lie. Even though I was never going to talk about work or even use my real name on it. I've actually once been reprimanded for making a negative post as a customer to a company that turned out was doing backroom business with my employer at the time. As far as I'm concerned, your employer pays you for your time when you're on the clock. When you're off the clock, you're supposed to be a human being, not property of your employer. The WWE saying they own your real name and your downtime is the most absurd thing that I've heard, and it sounds practically illegal until you realize that they've got this beautiful loophole in their pocket that when people try to go after them over employment standards violations, they can say, hey, we're not an employer, they're not employees, they're independent contractors. You know what? I'm rooting for states to follow suit with California, because more and more of these corporations who are already using every legal loophole to pass the taxes they should be paying onto you just take advantage of those athletes you and I watch weekly until they're worn out, broken down, and abandoned, and then told that they can't use the name they built to keep paying their bills afterwards. Ugh, now that was quite a ramble, and I'm sorry about that. Employment standards and labor laws, they mean a lot to me. Especially working in an industry where actual workers who draw in the profits are abused and manipulated by people in an office whose priorities are completely out of whack. Now that's just my opinion though. What do you think of this new directive from the WWE? And what superstars' third-party activities do you watch? And how do you think they should respond to being told that they might have to stop by October 2nd? Let me know in the comments and be sure to subscribe to the channel for more because I want you to be a part of this conversation too. For now though, I better get my shoulders off the mat, so thank you for tuning in to Jobbed Out. I'll catch you next time.